Big corporations are using AI to learn how desperate you are so they can charge you more and pay you less. Let's talk about the desperation tax. For generations, the most predatory employers in this country wanted one thing more than anything else: to know how little each person would take. They couldn't get that. The technology didn't exist. Now it does. Regulators have a name for it when this happens to you as a customer: surveillance pricing, and another name when it happens to you as a worker: algorithmic wage discrimination. But it's the same weapon pointed in two directions. It watches what you click, what you refuse, what you accept, where you live, what device you're holding, even the state of your bank accounts, your credit card debt, your medical bills, your relationship status, your living situation, your zip code, your finances. And then it calculates not what something is worth, but what it thinks you can be made to tolerate. Not what your work is worth, not what the product costs, your personal breaking point. And it's obscene. The Federal Trade Commission found pricing firms working with more than 250 mega retailers to build exactly these personalized profiles, individual by individual, to calculate the highest price any one person would actually pay. We've already seen travel sites charge some people more for the same hotel room on the same night than the person next to them. Airlines have told investors they're using AI to predict what a traveler can be squeezed for on the price of a ticket. Grocery chains are ripping out paper price tags for digital ones that can change in seconds, store-wide. The instant is profitable. Some are installing cameras on the aisles that can estimate your gender and age in real time. Now, why would your gender and age need to determine how much you should pay for groceries? Not all these platforms are necessarily doing all of this today yet, but the infrastructure is being installed before the law exists to stop it. The goal isn't a fair price anymore. It's finding your tolerance, your pain point in their language, your breaking point in mine. This behavior is disgusting. Your desperation is not their discount code. Here's what else most people haven't been told. The same technology is deciding how little to pay workers, too. Now, I know what this feels like from the inside. I drove for DoorDash while I was a broke college student raising a child alone. I worked UPS package delivery during peak season, and before either of those, I worked for the Postal Service, which was a union job with a fixed wage and a route you could actually understand. At USPS, the system was imperfect, but it was legible. You knew your rate. You knew your route. Nobody was quietly A/B testing your paycheck. But now, Uber is. Uber used to connect what a rider paid to what a driver earned, which makes sense, right? If you're paying a peak fare, your driver should be getting a peak wage. Otherwise, what pulls drivers onto the road in bad weather or rush hour? But under Uber's new pricing system, those two numbers, what you pay and what they earn, are calculated by two completely separate algorithms with no relationship between them at all. When they implemented this change, Uber corporate's share of each ride rose from about 1/3 to almost half, and in some cases as high as 2/3. 2/3 of every dollar you pay as a customer, taken by the company before your driver sees a penny. But researchers found something even worse than that. When Uber made this change, the biggest pay cuts fell on the drivers who almost never turned down a ride. The system was learning who could least afford to say no. Read that again in human terms. The more reliable you were, the more you needed the work, the more desperate you were, the less the algorithm paid you. Now, that same model is moving into medical care. Gig nursing apps like Clipboard Health, Nursa, and ShiftKey, run by some of the same mega millionaires, by the way. Reporting has found that these platforms are buying data on nurses' financial distress, credit card debt, insurance claims, medical debt, and then lowballing shift offers to the ones who look most desperate and unable to refuse. Same license, same shift, same patient, same work, lower pay, because the system reached into your credit report and figured out that you were the one who couldn't say no. They call it algorithmic wage discrimination. I call it a desperation tax. It's not a tax in law. It's a tax in effect. And unlike a real tax, it doesn't build a road or fund a school or heal a patient. It goes straight into increasing a corporation's profits. Uber's CEO, Dara Khosrowshahi, has personally admitted to this practice after years of denying it, and he's sitting on a personal fortune of hundreds of millions that he extracted from you this way. DoorDash's Billionaires co-founder, Tony Xu, is a personal investor in one of these very nursing apps. These are not faceless algorithms making faceless decisions. These are named human beings choosing on purpose to build systems that make them richer by exploiting the exact moment you had no other option. That is morally obscene. Your desperation should never be weaponized against you to pad a parasite's pocketbook. And before anybody throws up their hands, this is not some unstoppable consequence of technology. This is a policy choice that Congress is making right now by refusing to act. The Federal Trade Commission started investigating this back in January 2025. They were asking the public if we'd encountered these systems manipulating both prices and wages. That inquiry got cut short the moment Trump took office. And in Congress itself, Rep. Greg Casar has already filed a bill to stop AI price gouging and wage fixing. Congress has let it rot in committee while this infectious practice spreads. Some states are already moving. Maryland, Connecticut have banned this. Many others are working on it. But it shouldn't lead to fall to each state, leaving a patchwork of the protection and exposure across the country. This is Congress's job. Why aren't they doing it? Here's what Congress can do. Ban the use of debt and financial distress data to set wages or prices. Full stop. Make companies tell you when an algorithm is setting your pay or your price and what data it used so you can challenge it just like you can challenge a credit report. And empower and require the FTC to finish the work that political appointees tried to bury. Beyond that, baseline. Congress can ban this and make single price, single wage actually enforceable in law instead of the baseline we all thought it was, we thought was the foundation, turned out to be quicksand. I've driven those routes. I've felt the app making decisions about me I was never allowed to see. I'm running for Congress because your need should never be turned into a weapon against you. Fair businesses strengthen countries, helping the economy and everyone in it. Unfair, highly exploitative, and predatory mega businesses degrade and destroy the nation that enables them. We need a fair price, a fair wage, and a government strong enough to defend both. Care, courage, Constitution. Vote Melissa for Congress.